Hi, I'm Dan and this is Origin Stories. What kind of college student do you think Donald Trump was? A hard partier and frat boy like W? A contemplative writer trying to make his way in life like Obama? A marijuana smoker who never inhaled like Clinton? Unsurprisingly, Trump did none of these things. He was more or less a commuter and a working student. After Trump graduated from military school in the mid-60s, he opted to attend Fordham University in the Bronx, just miles away from his hometown of Queens. But as his classmates were smoking pot and experimenting with LSD, Trump didn't partake in any of these things. He didn't even drink or smoke cigarettes. He worked for his father's real estate business on the weekends, and even lived at home. He was so bent on taking over the family business he didn't even want to finish his degree. But Daddy wanted his son to go to college and become an Ivy League man. So he moved to Philadelphia to enroll in the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business, specializing in the real estate program. I talked to Bruce Kuklick, a professor of history at the University of Pennsylvania, about the reputation of Wharton in the 1960s.
Wharton was then not like the premier competitive business school in the world that it is today. It had rather I want to repeat the word dirty, but it did, a down and dirty kind of reputation and atmosphere. So that if you wanted to go to an Ivy League school, what did you do? You didn't apply to what was then called the college, arts and sciences, but you applied to Wharton. And we all had, when I was an undergraduate, the notion was, if you can't go to college, go to Wharton.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And what students would do, if they were ambitious, would get into the business school and then transfer to the college, because the college had far more prestige and wasn't regarded as this gut institution for kind of dumbos the way Wharton was at that time. So for Donald Trump to get into Wharton wouldn't have required very, very much at all.
It's worth noting that the Ivy League schools, particularly Columbia and Harvard, featured some of the most heated anti-war activism of the time. Penn was a bit more muted, but still featured its share of teach-ins and campus protests. However, Trump, and Wharton students in particular, were not a part of this. Concentrated on his future in business, Trump did little to jeopardize his standing with the New York establishment. He stayed in after classes, watched The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and went to bed early. Given his current enthusiasm for beauty pageants and masculinity, one might have assumed him to be an aggressive socializer and ladies' man. But alas, this came after college. A lot of you might be wondering about why Donald Trump didn't go to Vietnam. Like George W. Bush and Bill Clinton, Trump attended college during the Vietnam War and used a variety of deferments to get himself out of the conflict. But the timing on Trump's deferment is a bit unclear. He attended Penn in 1967 and 1968 and was able to claim the 2S student deferment. But his student deferment ran out in July of 1968, and after that he was eligible for the draft. However, 2 months later in September, Trump was found medically unfit for combat. He was then classified as 1-Y, which allowed him to be called in the case of a national emergency. Trump's comments on his draft status are a bit hazy. At first, he boasted of scoring a high draft number in the lottery. The lottery system assigned people a certain random number based on their birthday, and Trump's birthday yielded a number that would never be called for service. But this lottery system did not enter into play until December of 1969, more than a year after Trump secured his 1-Y deferment. In 2014, Trump was faced with this historical fallacy and took the opportunity to offer an alternative explanation: heel spurs. Apparently, he had been diagnosed with a bone bulge on both heels that made long-term walking difficult. To conclude, Donald Trump's college life was an uneasy compromise between obtaining a degree and delaying full-time work in his father's real estate company. Trump was a hard worker in the business world, but higher academia was not a perfect fit for him. And as we've seen with previous presidential candidates, Trump was more than happy to use questionable medical ailments and college education as an excuse not to fight in the Vietnam War, which I'm not blaming him for, but it's something that should be known. Thank you for watching this video. This is a channel exploring the origins of people, and the college life of a president is certainly a time where one does a lot of soul searching. And Johnny Carson watching, apparently. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we want you to subscribe.